Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Guns N' Roses Central. And I want to let you guys know that Axl Rose did his first interview in almost 2 years. I believe the last time Axl actually gave an interview was in the fall of 2016 when Guns N' Roses were, I think they were playing the States, or it was the late summer of 2016, they were playing the States. Him and Duff sat down with an interview with Globo TV, which is a Brazilian TV station. And they did a pretty useless interview where we really didn't learn anything except that they gave a kind of a confusing explanation in terms of why Izzy wasn't involved in the reunion, and then Izzy responded saying it was bullshit, they didn't want to split the money. Well, Guns N' Roses' last stop of the Not in This Lifetime tour was in Iceland yesterday, and Axl sat down with an Icelandic newspaper to talk a bit about Guns N' Roses, but as you guys would expect, it was pretty much all safe questions for the most dangerous band in the world. So, just to give you guys a summary, I used Google Translate to translate the interview, and there were some really weird translations, so I'm pretty sure they didn't translate entirely properly, but these are some of the main points I got from the interview. Axl is apparently a big Bjork fan, which I didn't know. His favorite song right now to sing on tour is Wichita Lineman, and the arrangement they've come up with, or the process of coming up with it, reminded him of some of the old GNR songs. Each one of them have their own way to be able to stay in shape on tour and play such long shows. He also said that everybody supports one another's individual projects. When asked about new music, he said they haven't worked on new music and they've been focusing on the tour only, but the atmosphere is very good, so everything is open for the future, I guess. So some of the questions were, have you experienced the same particularly memorable highlights during this long tour? He basically said that each audience and concert was unique. He also said that everybody's a different individual and they have pretty simple philosophies in the band that keep things fresh. They also talked about coming and playing Iceland for such a long time, and they of course knew that the country existed. They were also asked, is there any special feeling to get to a stage in a new place after all this time in the business? He said, we only think of everyone to meet the expectations of our fans so that they enjoy themselves and enjoy the concert. And maybe some new fans have gotten along the way from among those who could only see just how all the scenery and condition are. So you can see how the translations are really weird and some of them don't really make sense. But if you guys want to read the entire interview, I've linked to it down below in the description box. In other news, I want to let you guys know that the video for I Don't Care About You from the Spaghetti incident has resurfaced online. I've linked to it down below. It should hopefully stay up and you should be able to get a copy if you're interested. Now, we've got some other news. So Shinedown's frontman talked about Guns N' Roses in a recent interview he did at a radio station. So Holland's Face Culture Face Culture is a pretty well-known show. You guys have probably seen their videos on YouTube. They interview a lot of music stars. They conducted an interview with Shinedown frontman Brent Smith, and it was transcribed by Blabbermouth, and he talked a bit about Guns N' Roses and their early influence. He talked about being 14 years old. He said my parents would go out. They would always go out on Friday nights because that was their date night, and the garage in the house we lived in had a really good reverb. I remember singing Appetite for Destruction from Guns N' Roses back to back. I would do it until I could hit every single note, and there were a lot of key moments. But I've got to give some credit to my father because when I was 15, my dad gave me a tape, an anthology tape of a guy named Otis Redding, and that opened up completely a different door because Otis Redding got me into Nina Simone. Nina Simone got me into Ella Fitzgerald, which got me into Billie Holiday, which got me into Marvin Gaye, which got me into Sam Cooke, and of course, which got me into Percy Sledge. And this whole world of R&B and Motown kind of opened up, and I went backward for a little bit from that. I found out about this band from Birmingham named Black Sabbath. Then I kind of figured out about Led Zeppelin. I was 24 years old before I even listened to the Beatles' first record. The first Beatles record I ever listened to, front to back, was the White Album. I was 24 before I heard it. Turning now to the Billboard charts, let's talk about how Appetite for Destruction, the reissue, did for its third week out. It's had a pretty dismal last few weeks on the Billboard charts. It debuted at number 10, which people say, well, number 10's pretty good, but when you look at the amount of copies it sold, it was pretty pathetic, which is really sad because, the reissue offered a lot to a lot of different fans, and it could have been a good starting point for maybe a lot of people who weren't previously familiar with the band. So the first week it debuted at number 10. Last week it fell to number 34 on the Billboard charts. This week it fell all the way to number 64 on the Billboard Hot 200 charts. So we'll keep tracking it as it goes on, but I wouldn't be surprised if the following week it's either out of the top 100 or it's just about to slip. We've also got some news about how Shadow of Your Love has been doing on the Billboard mainstream rock charts. It's been doing pretty solid. It peaked at number 5. It then slipped a couple spots. The previous week it was number 14. This week it's at number 20, so it's still in the top 20, and it seems like a song that's been getting a lot of airplay when I talk to a lot of the subscribers in the comments. So this was an interesting news story, and I hope you guys have seen the video of this. So there's a woman named Lindsay Rothschild Cross. Now, she gained worldwide attention for her awesome sign language interpretation at a recent Lamb of God show in Austin, Texas. She was interviewed by Good Morning America, and in the interview she talked about growing up with Guns N' Roses and Alice in Chains. So they caught up with her earlier this week, and it turns out she's a high school teacher who loves hard rock and metal. She said, "I grew up with Guns N' Roses and Alice in Chains and Iron Maiden and things like that." However, even with her great taste in music, Rothschild Cross wasn't as confident going into the show as she would soon display. At first, I was honestly very nervous because I had never interpreted metal. Rothschild Cross admitted, adding, "The key is that you have to impersonate the singer. The meaning of the song is a lot of anger. I just took on that feeling of someone who has hurt me before." So the song was Lamb of God's Rune, and the band's frontman Randy Blythe had high praise for Rothschild Cross in a statement he gave to ABC News. He said, "I'm always extremely pleased when I see sign language interpreters at our show, and the show in Austin was no exception," Blythe said. He added, that day there were several interpreters taking turns. They were all working hard and doing a great job, but Lindsay's interpretation of our performance stood out to me enough that I hopped down off stage and sang beside her for a bit. So if you guys want to see the interview, I've linked to it down below. I was kind of surprised to read that they do have interpreters at different shows. Like, at least any shows I've been to, they don't have them. I guess maybe the laws or the rules kind of vary from state to state. But I'd love to know if you guys have been to any shows where you've seen interpreters performing next to a band. So that does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Go check out GNRcentral.com for the latest and greatest breaking Guns N' Roses and related news. Also, go support us on Patreon if you want to see us continue to make great content and upload to our website. And you guys can also go follow us on social media on Twitter and Facebook. The links to all that good stuff is down below in the description box. Thanks for watching and have yourself a good one.